All right, I'm back again, and yeah, I know I took a little bit of a break from making videos, but I'm back and ready to give some videos about some of the current events that have happened. Obviously, the big story in the news is the fall of Afghanistan and the U.S. pullout and collapse of the government. So I'm just going to be giving some of my critiques about some of the events that have obviously transpired and happened, but also I will be giving some of my analysis on um, the role of the U.S. over the past 20 years in Afghanistan and where obviously all this, the current events that have happened, will go. So it will not just be a look at the Biden administration. It'll also be looking at the previous presidential administrations, but it will also just deal with the um, it will deal with also just the overall interaction between the Afghan government and the terrorist group known as the Taliban and its affiliates. And so that is really what this these series of videos are going to be about. I'm also going to be talking about a few other topics, but I will leave that for a different series of videos, and so hopefully you'll be able to catch up on some of the other current events that have happened recently over the past few weeks that I will cover as well. And so hopefully this is just an introduction to the fall of Afghanistan and how the longest American active war has concluded, basically. Um, and what are some of the implications of that, and where do all the parties go from here? And so hopefully this is just an introduction to understanding some of the things that have been happening in the news, and I'll be talking in great length about them. And so um, I guess just taking it from there, it is something that I've really wanted to talk about for a really long time about the war in Afghanistan and how it was, pretty much approaching 20 years of it happening. And so with that, it's something that's very unique and strange that has been going on in Afghanistan. Obviously, previously in 2020, the U.S. government under Donald Trump made a deal with the Taliban that they would exit the country in May. Obviously, with a new administration, that did not happen, and also due in part to the health crisis due to COVID-19. That was pushed back to the end of this month, which is August 2021. And so the talks in Doha were essentially to have sort of a peaceful transition between the Afghan government and the Taliban legitimizing themselves as a political force in Afghanistan. Obviously, with the current events that have happened, that is not obviously taking place. Um, and it is something that is kind of, egg on the face of the Biden administration. And so I'm just going to get into what actually happened. Um, Last Sunday, the Taliban, who had been making gains in Afghanistan in the south and throughout most of the country, gained particularly control of major centers in Afghanistan. And basically, their strategy was to use the infrastructure that the U.S. had built over the last 20 years in the country to quickly and almost, in a sense, blitz the country and take it by force. And so that's essentially what happened. You saw a lot of the major cities get taken quickly first, like Ghazni, Kandahar, Helmand province, and you had a lot of the cities in the north taken as well, and then ultimately Kabul, the nation's capital of Afghanistan, be surrounded and ultimately occupied by the Taliban as U.S. forces left the country. I believe the U.S. forces had left earlier in the month, and it kind of came as a shock not only to the Afghans but also to our allies that were in the area as part of the NATO mission. And so that's essentially what happened. It was kind of strange that moments before the city fell to the Taliban, Kabul, the president of the country just left. I believe he went to Tajikistan or Uzbekistan, one of the Central Asian republics, and so it's later come out that he also left the country with over $100 million of U.S. money from the Treasury of Afghanistan, and so it was just something that was kind of you know, obvious that was going to happen, or this was the foregone conclusion of that happening, just in a sense because you really saw districts and provinces falling without really a fight. Even when the Afghans had reached the northern portion of the country, many of the fighters or in national security forces of Afghanistan just simply left the country. A lot of them went to Tajikistan, which of the is a sizable minority in Afghanistan, and the Uzbekistan as well. The Uzbeks being also a sizable minority in Afghanistan as well. And so, yeah, they just essentially lay down their arms and left. And so, um, I think President Ghani really was not anticipating such a quick collapse of his government, but also he was still under some uh, I don't know if you want to call it na- like naive notion that somehow the Taliban was still going to let him be president after they had taken the whole country without a fight. Um, and that there wouldn't be some sort of change in government. Now, obviously, Afghanistan is majority Islamic country, but obviously their brand of Islam is a little bit more um, hardline or stricter, and so you're going to see this happen uh, when there's no power in place. Obviously there's going to be people who are willing to step in and fill that. And so that's basically what the Taliban did, absent the president. Obviously, there are still reports that the uh, vice president, who is in the northern region of Afghanistan, I believe in the Peshawar region of the country, yeah, which is a region that was never taken by the Taliban in the late 90s or the Soviets in the 70s or 80s. And so I think that's going to probably be a hotbed of resistance to the Taliban's rule, especially just due to the fact that the ethnicity makeup of the region is very of that particular portion of Afghanistan is very different than the makeup of the Taliban, which is a primarily a Pashtun uh, militia groups who have allegiance to various other groups in Pakistan and also in the wider Middle East. And so, um, yeah, Afghani, uh, Ghani, sorry, has essentially just left the country. But what is really